In the year of 1912, the future was on the line. Now in a time of rapid change, a new era had begun.
One and all, this is the 1912 Presidential Election Conference. We'll begin this by introducing all of our candidates and which party they are from. First, to Wilson.
It takes time to remove all the grime. That's my slogan. Vote for Wilson.
Next, we have Theodore Roosevelt.
Support the new nationalism. Vote for Roosevelt.
What does that mean?
The new nationalism is when the federal government gets to exert its power for the better of the people. It's for your own good.
Okay, on to you, President Taft.
Vote for Taft this time, vote for Bryan anytime.
Now, Mr. Debs.
Alright, thank you for those amazing slogans. Let's just start the debate. What are your views upon tariffs?
My view on tariffs is that they should be lowered. Seeing that I am a Democratic candidate, most of my votes are from the agrarian South, and lowering the tariffs will increase their profit margins and therefore benefit their economy. What do you have to say on that, Roosevelt?
I completely agree with you. I think that it's ridiculous how the Republican presidents have raised the tariffs so high, and it hurts our people. You know, higher tariffs lead to higher living expenses. And that means our people are going to suffer because they can't afford to live in nice houses.
Oh, on to you, President Taft, for question number 1.
I believe that since this is an American economy, we should raise tariffs on imported goods because we are Americans. What about you, Mr. Debs? On to the next question. Do you support women's rights?
Women's suffrage and rights? Preposterous. I believe that women should play the at-home role and raise the children, and thus far I don't believe in women deserving the minimum wage pay that men deserve, because men work harder and better than all women do. And what do you think about that, Roosevelt?
I absolutely disagree with you. I think women should have the right to vote. I 100% support women's suffrage. Just look at my progressive convention where we chose all of the presidential candidates. There were women there, and they participated, and they were bright-minded, and they deserve to be paid the same as men.
Blasphemy.
Oh, President Taft, coming back to you for the second question, do you support women's right or not?
Yes, I do support women's suffrage. They are equal to men in many ways. They have the same intellectual capacity, and in fact, sometimes they're smarter. However, we could argue that women are more frail. They just can't lift as much weight as men can do. Also, I'd like to reiterate back to what Roosevelt said and point out that the women deserve more pay because they're capable of doing the task equally well or better.
Okay, so Mr. Debs, how do you feel about the exact same question? Do you support women's suffrage?
On to the third question. Now, because of these huge businesses popping up by well-known entrepreneurs such as Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, and Ford, many American commoners are arguing for better working conditions. How do you guys feel about this?
So, let me begin. I do believe that the big businesses have a lot of power, and you know what? I strongly believe that they shouldn't have as much power as they do. But I also don't agree with the fact that the workers who are forming these trusts, monopolies, and unions are trying to rebel against these working conditions. I believe that there could be a peaceful solution to this between the boss and his worker. And what do you believe, Roosevelt?
Well, I actually agree with you in some parts of that. I do believe that big businesses need to be monitored by government action. We need to have laws that limit them, but not completely take them out of the picture. I am opposed to trusts as well because I feel like they hurt business interests. And I do believe that we need an established 8-hour workday. No more than that. Any more than that is considered human abuse.
How do you feel about the corporations and their big old monopolies and how the workers complain about these working conditions? Here we go to President Taft.
I just like the ideas of monopolies, which these people that you have mentioned have been a part of, one way or another. They exploit the natural resources of America for their own benefit, and these natural resources need to be conserved, while others can be used for private industries.
Okay, well, that's our responses from all the candidates. Moving on to the fourth question.
Having no other specific questions, if elected, what will you do to improve the country?
So, to start off, I'd like to say that I have a new policy which I have ingeniously entitled The New Freedom, which is stronger government involvement in economic opportunities, meaning that the bigger businesses should be humbled down and the smaller businesses should be supported, and there should be a free market competition. Also, I believe in a banking reform in which the banking interest rates are lowered so that the normal farmer can actually afford to pay back the bank and not go into debt for the rest of his life. Roosevelt, would you like to continue?
Yes, I very much would. Well, seeing as I was president for 4 years, I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and ideas about what to do to improve America. I know I promised that I wouldn't run another term, but I believe that with my knowledge we can make America 10 times better than it already is. So, I would propose a minimum wage, which would help and benefit the workers tremendously. And I would also promote federal government protection of workers, and so in order to prevent them from being exploited by big businesses. Don't forget, the new nationalism is my campaign idea. It's that the federal government will have more of an active role in people's lives, for their own good, of course. I would also like to enact a national health care tax to make health care available to all of the classes. I would also like a federal income tax, so that would help the government not suffer financially. I also believe in conservation of resources and preserving our natural environment and improving our waterways. Don't forget, vote for Roosevelt. I'm as fit as a bull moose.
What will you do as president, Mr. Taft?
Well, when I'm president, I'll remove popular vote, recalls, and initiatives. And I plan to place limitations for child and women labor. I will also place a different way to elect senators because I believe that our senators have become corrupt, and the people should decide who is right for the job.
And, Mr. Debs, do you have anything to say about this? So there you have it, guys. That is our interview from Mr. Wilson, Mr. Taft, Mr. Roosevelt, former president, of course, and Mr. Debs, who seems to be a very challenging candidate for us today.
The Republican votes were split by feud, making Wilson president.
Votes are in, and the winner of the 1912 presidential election is Woodrow Wilson!
In your face! There you go, Mr. Debs! I won!
Welcome, one and all. This is the 19th. I looked at the camera. I didn't even look at the camera until like later. And I saw Andrea.
I also think that we need an established minimum wage. It's not fair for one worker to get paid more than another worker just because of their race.
So how? Are you trying to make bloopers? Having no other specific questions, if elected, what will you do to improve the country?
So, I'm gonna start this off again because your uncle just freaking screamed.
He turned the other way.
Wait, guys, we can still take the shot. Okay.
Yes.